You pull into your driveway, put the car in park, and suddenly realize you have absolutely no memory of the last 15 miles. You weren't asleep, your eyes were wide open the entire time. You navigated turns, maintained your speed, and reacted to traffic, all while your conscious mind was entirely switched off. Cognitive researchers call this specific loophole driving without attention mode, or DWAM. Motorists have reported this sensation since 1921, shortly after the first high-speed roads were paved. It's evidence that our brains can successfully manage complex spatial navigation even when the conscious mind is miles away. What you're experiencing is a biological bifurcation. Human consciousness is physically displaced by a primitive internal autopilot. When you drive a specific, repetitive route, the prefrontal cortex, the region of your brain responsible for high-level executive function and decision-making, recognizes it doesn't need to work so hard. To conserve immense amounts of metabolic energy, it deliberately steps back. Power seamlessly transfers to the basal ganglia, a subcortical structure buried deep in the brain that handles procedural memory and automated motor skills. It quietly takes over the vehicle's telemetry. While your physical body keeps driving, your conscious mind gets hijacked by the default mode network, or DMN, the system that floods your brain with daydreams and abstract internal thought. Looking at this 3D brain topography, you can see the prefrontal cortex dimming out, while the basal ganglia and DMN structures illuminate to show that precise transfer of regional control. This shift creates a measurable biometric change. Your brain transitions away from the high-frequency beta waves used for active problem-solving, dropping down into the smooth, slow-rolling alpha and theta waves associated with deep meditative states. For those missing 15 miles, you are functioning as two separate entities, a mechanical zombie operating the steering wheel, and a conscious mind trapped inside an internal void. The brain is actively pushed into this state by the external environment. According to cognitive scientist A.H. Wertheim's eye movement theory, this cognitive lap happens specifically because of how modern, featureless highways are designed. Mathematically constant dashed lane markers, identical scenery, and a complete lack of intersections create an environment of extreme visual predictability. Because your brain can perfectly predict exactly what's coming next, it relies on extraretinal feedback, meaning it stops actively looking for new information. This diagram compares two eye-tracking paths. On the left, a complex city road forces chaotic, rapid darting movements. On the right, the flat highway horizon causes the ocular muscles to stop scanning entirely, locking into a static central gaze. Staring blankly straight ahead has a profound physiological consequence. It suppresses the ascending reticular activating system, lowering your central nervous system's overall arousal. The very design of the highway weaponizes your visual system, physically lulling the cortex into a dangerous trance without your consent. It is critical to separate this sensory trance from drowsy driving. Drowsy driving is born from severe, acute physical exhaustion. Highway hypnosis can happen to a fully rested, heavily caffeinated driver entirely due to sensory monotony. A drowsy driver is in a physical struggle. They battle heavy eyelids, fight off involuntary microsleeps, and make erratic, violent steering corrections when they snap awake. A hypnotized driver is chillingly smooth. This diagnostic matrix illustrates the contrast. On one side, the drowsy driver fights drooping eyelids, resulting in jagged steering trajectory lines. On the other side, the hypnotized driver calmly stares ahead, maintaining a perfectly linear trajectory while suffering from complete change blindness. That smoothness hides a lethal risk. While the basal ganglia can keep the car between the lines on an empty road, it is completely incapable of processing or reacting to sudden, novel hazards, like a stopping vehicle or a deer jumping into the lane. A drowsy driver usually knows they are dangerously fighting sleep. The hypnotized driver has no idea their executive function is missing until the exact moment a crash becomes unavoidable. The automotive industry recognizes this invisible threat. Engineers are actively fighting it by developing advanced driver assistance systems that leverage artificial intelligence and biometric telemetry. Inside the cabin, neural networks continuously monitor the driver's ocular behavior. They search specifically for those static, extraretinal gaze patterns to trigger active safety alarms before the brain fully detaches. But until AI detection becomes standard in every vehicle, Humans possess a highly effective, scientifically validated biological override switch, the mechanical act of chewing gum. Preventing this psychological takeover doesn't require complex mental exercises. It requires a targeted physical hack to your own nervous system. Continuous chewing vigorously activates the trigeminal nerve, or cranial nerve V. This is the largest cranial nerve, responsible for transmitting intense motor and sensory pressure data from the jaw. Mechanical force from the jaw travels up the trigeminal nerve directly into the brainstem, igniting the locus coeruleus. This floods the cerebral cortex with norepinephrine, triggering immediate pupil dilation and suppressing the slow-rolling theta waves that sustain the trance. Because it operates continuously in the background, chewing acts as a low-level physical pattern interrupt. It keeps the basal ganglia from completely locking out the executive function, all without pulling your eyes off the road. Automaticity allows the human brain to conserve immense metabolic energy on routine tasks, but when that efficiency meets a vehicle moving at 70 miles per hour, we have to use mechanical overrides to force our attention back to the wheel.